Hello, so this is my assessment for the last assessment for Unit 1. And yeah, this is my interpretation of Unit 1 of making sense of data. So on our agenda, we have Office 365, how to create folders, technology nomenclature, Screencast-O-Matic, Excel, data conversions, standard coding, and measurements. So first, I wanted to start talking about Office 365. For our first module, we mainly focused on email and OneDrive. Our first week, we mainly worked with email, as I said. We learned about attachments, carbon copies, and blind carbon copies, which I never knew what they were, but we learned about that. And we also learned how to create and utilize email signatures. All of that is pretty simple, so I'm not going to really show you about that, but I was happy that I was able to create an email signature because I had been I had been interested in it for a long time. But we also went over how to use our email calendars to stay organized, and I was really excited about this because I actually already used this technique before taking the class, so I was happy to know that I was using a common organizational skill. We also did some work with the rest of Office 365, and we used screen capture as well. And really quick, I'm just going to show you my calendar because I'm not going to lie, it's something I'm really proud of. Just give me 1 second. Yep, so I think you can see it. And as I said, I'm just really I'm always happy to show this off. Yep, as you can see, I have it on a routine, and yeah. But anyway, back to the presentation. Give me 1 second. Alright, so back to the presentation. Play from current slide. And so yeah, next I wanted to talk about operating systems and folders, and this one doesn't have a slide. I really would rather just show you than tell you. So we learned how to go through, I have a MacBook, so obviously I can't show you the Windows version, but we did learn both. I learned how to go to the terminal and type in things here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of an old woman, and I didn't really fiddle with this too much because it confused me a lot, but your video really helped me understand it. I've gotten a few of the simple commands like the to like make directories and change directories and list files, but luckily we also have Finder, and as you can see, I made quite a few folders in Finder. I was really excited to make these folders because although I had been using it a little bit this semester, as you can see, my freshman year was just so chaotic because I didn't really have many folders, so I really appreciated like being made to make these folders for an assessment. So I think when I have the time, I'm really gonna go through and like clear all this out because honestly it was just so stressful, and I do enjoy having the folders. And as I said earlier, we were also made to put some folders on our OneDrive. As you can see here, for the faux project, it was one of our assessments, and I have all 4 years. I will be using this technique throughout college and in the future because it really just helps me be organized. Okay, so back to the presentation. Okay. So next we have technology nomenclature, and this is where I learned mostly everything because I had no idea about computers at all. Learned about the CPU, the central processing unit. I learned about i3, i5, and i7, and which one is the best out of those, which is i7. I learned about the gigahertz, and although I've heard that before, I didn't know that it was the instructions that a computer or device can input per second. And we learned about hardware, software, and memory, hardware being physical parts of the device, software being non-physical, and then the memory being obviously the memory. I didn't really know the difference between software like user developed like Java and Python, and then operating systems. I kind of had knowledge about those, and applications that I use every day like Word and Photoshop. But what I really didn't know about was the memory. And so I knew there was hard drive and that it was the memory, but I did not know that there was typically 1 terabyte, which is 1 trillion bytes of memories in computers today, which is a lot when we get to the measurements in the next module. But we also learned about RAM, the temporary memory, and I learned that it's typically 8 gigabytes, so which is 8 billion bytes of RAM in computers today. So that was pretty cool. Screencast-O-Matic, this also doesn't really have like an information slide because as you can see, I'm using it right now. I really just like fooled around with it myself, to be honest. And yeah, I think it's a really good app, and I'm happy that you brought it to our attention because it's really useful. So even though there wasn't a specific module on Excel, I feel like I needed to give a slide to it because of how much I learned about it in this first chapter. Excel is one of those Office 365 apps that just terrifies me to my bone, because although I know that it's very useful, it's only very useful if you know how to use it, and I was never taught, so I pretty much stayed away from it. But for the Module 3 assessment, when we had to create a spreadsheet of various device characteristics, I ended up fiddling with the app a lot more than I ever had in my life, and I learned a lot of functions and shortcuts within the app, and it made it very much easier to use it. And then I also learned a lot in the last module about how much of a powerful mathematical tool and work checker it is. I did not know that you could use all those functions. I knew the function shortcut in it was a possibility, but it always kind of worried me, so I just never bothered with it. But yeah, I was really happy to learn more about Excel because it really is a powerful tool. And last but not least, we have data conversions. Now, I did take a coding class, I took a coding class in high school, so I kind of know about bits and bytes, but I really appreciate the way you explained it, because although it did confuse me at first, I feel like I've gotten a better understanding about them. But yeah, like I said, we learned about bits and bytes and how 1 byte is 8 bits or digits, and we learned about some characteristics on bases, like the digits within base 10 is base, well, or in any base really, you just take the base number and you subtract it by 1, and then that's the digits. We also learned about hexadecimal, which is base 16, and we learned about the American Standard Code for Information Interchange, ASCII, which was really interesting for me because it was completely new, and I didn't know that after 9 that you start to use letters. So A would be 10, B 11, and then it goes all the way up to FF, which is 255, which is the end of ASCII. But I thought that was really cool. It was really a review for me to go from base 10 to base 2 and from base 2 to base 10 conversions and back and forth and so forth. And it was also really interesting to learn the practical uses of binary, obviously coding, but also understanding file sizes, which I literally never even thought about before. And obviously, to understand the file sizes, you also have to understand measurements. So there's kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, and terabyte. And a kilobyte is 1024 bytes, which is maybe about 1,000 kilobytes is a 5-page paper, a 5 to 6 page paper, and then a megabyte is about 1,000,000 bytes, so a 5-minute video is about 20 megabytes, so this video will probably be about 40 or something like that. And then a gigabyte is about 1 billion gigabytes, the most common one, because there are 8 gigabytes of RAM in a computer. And then last but not least, a terabyte, which is 1 trillion bytes. And some computers nowadays, like I said earlier, have 1 terabyte hard drives. So yeah, that is the end. Thank you. This video was 10 minutes, so I'm sorry for making you sit through 9 minutes of me stuttering. But thank you, and have a good rest of your day.